You're not losing friends, at least not in the way you think. If you really look at it closely, nothing actually happened. There was no big fight, no clear ending, no moment where everything just broke. Things just slowly changed over time, so slowly that you didn't even notice it at first. Replies became shorter, conversations started feeling different, and plans stopped happening the way they used to. At first, it confuses you more than it hurts. You sit there thinking about it, trying to understand what went wrong. You start replaying conversations in your head, wondering if you said something you shouldn't have, or if you changed in a way that pushed people away. It begins to feel personal, like you're being quietly replaced or slowly forgotten, and that feeling stays in the back of your mind longer than you expect. But what most people don't realize is that sometimes you're not being left behind, you're simply moving forward. And that difference changes everything. Growth is strange because it doesn't always feel like improvement. Sometimes it feels like loss. It feels like distance forming between you and the people who used to feel like home. It feels like becoming unfamiliar in places where you once felt understood. And the hardest part is, no one really prepares you for that. As you grow, your perspective starts to shift in ways you can't reverse. The things you once ignored begin to stand out. The behaviors you once accepted start to feel uncomfortable. Conversations that used to entertain you now feel empty, repetitive, or even draining. It's not that those things suddenly became wrong, it's that you're no longer the same person experiencing them. And without even making a conscious decision, you begin to pull away. Not in a dramatic or obvious way, but subtly. You respond less, you engage less, and you stop putting energy into things that no longer feel aligned with who you're becoming. This is where a lot of people misunderstand themselves. They think they're becoming distant, cold, or disconnected, but in reality, they're becoming more aware. And awareness changes your tolerance. It changes what you're willing to accept and what you're no longer willing to ignore. Most friendships are built on shared versions of life. Shared humor, shared struggles, shared routines, and shared understanding. But when one person starts evolving, those shared foundations begin to shift. The connection doesn't break instantly, it slowly loses its depth. You start to notice that conversations don't flow the same way. You feel like you're holding back parts of yourself or simplifying your thoughts just to match the energy around you. And over time, that becomes exhausting. So you begin to choose silence more often. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you don't feel like explaining yourself anymore. And that's where the distance really begins. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet, almost invisible. But it's real. And the difficult truth is, not everyone is meant to grow with you. Some people are only aligned with a version of you that no longer exists. They knew you when you were different, when your priorities were different, when your mindset was different, and that's the version of you they're still connected to. But you've changed, and that creates a gap that can't always be closed. This is the part where people start feeling guilty. You start thinking that maybe you're the problem, that maybe you're the one who's drifting away, that maybe you're not putting in enough effort to maintain the connection. And so you try to go back. You try to respond more, engage more, and bring things back to how they used to be. But something feels off. You can feel it in the conversations, in the energy, in the silence between words. It doesn't feel natural anymore. It feels forced. And that's when you realize that you're not just losing people, you're outgrowing certain environments, certain dynamics, and certain versions of connection. Growth changes your standards in ways you don't always notice immediately. It changes how you value your time, your energy, and your attention. You become more selective, not out of ego, but out of understanding. You begin to realize that not every connection is meant to last forever, and not every friendship is meant to evolve with you. Some people are meant to be part of your life for a specific phase, a specific version of you, and once that phase ends, the connection naturally fades. And that's not a failure, it's a transition. But even when you understand that logically, it doesn't make it emotionally easy. There are still moments where you miss how things used to be. You miss the comfort, the familiarity, the effortlessness of those connections. But what you're really missing isn't the person as they are now. It's the experience of who you were when you were with them. And that's an important difference. Because if you truly look at it honestly, going back wouldn't feel the same. You've changed too much to fit back into that space without feeling restricted. And deep down, you know that. That's why even though you miss it, you don't fully want it back. Growth comes with a kind of loneliness that most people don't talk about. It's not the loneliness of being completely alone. It's the loneliness of being less understood. It's having fewer people who truly resonate with how you think and how you see the world. And for a while, that can feel heavy. You start questioning if it's worth it. You start wondering if life was simpler before, when you didn't think this deeply, when you didn't analyze everything, and when you could just exist without constantly evolving. But at the same time, you also know you can't go back. Because once your awareness expands, it doesn't shrink again. You can't unsee what you've seen, and you can't unknow what you now understand. So you keep moving forward. And slowly, things start to make sense again. You begin to meet people who align with who you are now, not who you used to be. The connections may be fewer, but they feel more genuine, more natural, and more effortless in a different way. There's less noise, less pressure, and less pretending. Just clarity. And that clarity is worth everything you had to lose to get here. Because at the end of the day, you're not here to maintain every connection you've ever made. You're here to grow into the person you're meant to become. And sometimes, that means leaving certain relationships behind, even if there was nothing wrong with them. So no, you're not losing friends. You're evolving. You're stepping into a version of yourself that requires different energy, different boundaries, and different connections. And while that process can feel lonely at times, it's also necessary. Because the life you're building can't be supported by the version of you you've already outgrown. And the sooner you accept that, the more peaceful this transition becomes. So instead of asking why you're losing people, ask yourself a different question. Are you becoming someone new? Because if the answer is yes, then this isn't loss. It's alignment. And that changes everything.